In connection with the clips of news and reports presented, our advocacy campaign are entitled as Don't Be Afraid, We'll Be Your Aid, an advocacy campaign to end domestic violence and sexual abuse within families and secluded areas. The advocacy campaign material is about raising awareness about the different laws that covers the rights of women and children, especially the victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse within families. The campaign materials also covers basic sex education to raise awareness and educate not just the young minds, but also the adults about the threat and risk of unsafe sexual activity and the penalty of unconsented and forced sexual activity. The campaign material is about encouraging and guiding the victims who remain silent to speak up and stand for themselves to end the violence and abuse and to end its cycle. We know that raising awareness and offering hope can give light, hope, and courage to the members of the families who's been abused but remain silent to speak up and stand for their own rights. This advocacy campaign aims to encourage the abused individuals to speak for themselves and seek help and support from the authorities. As someone who's been exposed to such violence and abuse, I believe that the cycle of violence and abuse will never stop if we will keep silent and continuously avoid addressing this issue. As a victim who's also been silent about this issue, I realize that it will never be the solution to this suffering, but instead it will just lead to more series of violence and abuse, and worse, it will just be a lifelong cycle. Silence will never be a solution, and we believe that no matter how faint your voice may be at the moment, together with other voices, it will be loud enough to reach others, even in the most secluded place. So against abuser, we believe that awareness and knowledge can be your best weapon against them. Statistics of recorded cases of domestic violence and sexual abuse to children within families are gathered and strengthen our advocacy campaign movement and end the violence and abuse. We also include some laws that will back up what we advocate. Sources and information are gathered from reliable sources like Philippine Inquirer, Rappler, Philippine Statistics Authority, and other related readings gathered from government websites. We also include informations from different websites of organizations that shares and are related to our advocacy like Chameleon Association Organization, Plan International Organization, UNICEF, and Department of Social Welfare and Development. Violence and abuse within families are everywhere, and among these families, those without enough awareness and education about their rights are more likely to be abused and stay in silence and obscurity. So, the target beneficiary of this advocacy campaign is the families in secluded area, especially the female spouse and children who suffers domestic and sexual abuse from family members. The language register we are going to use in this campaign is English, Tagalog, and Bicol dialect, since we are first targeting the families located at the mountains of Albay.
Goal number 1. To have an organized plan before the advocacy campaign start regarding sexual abuse and domestic violence. Objective number 1. Identify the chosen location of the secluded area. Objective number 2. Gather the list of participants in the secluded area to ensure that the target audience are enough to start the advocacy campaign. Objective number 3. To define the message we want to relay to our target audience. Our target audience are kids, parents, and the victims in the secluded area. Objective number 4. Prepare the number of resource materials as we identify the numbers of participants. Goal number 2. Increase community coordination and communication pertaining to sexual abuse and domestic violence. Objective number 1. To build a team. We aim to gather all the individuals who share the same advocacy with us and are willing to be part of the advocacy. Objective number 2. Coordinate with all the significant people, organizations, and agencies, both private and public, that can help the team accomplish the goals of the advocacy. Objective number 3. To finalize the campaign plan together with all the necessary personnel, speakers, lawyers, government and private agencies, and police and military personnel. Objective number 4. Inform the targeted local barangay about the advocacy campaign. Coordinate with the barangay and school personnel. Goal number 3. To start the advocacy campaign in the chosen secluded area where we will increase sex education and awareness about the sexual abuse and domestic violence. Objective number 1. For the first week, we will inform the students about the upcoming advocacy campaign that will take place in the school. Objective number 2. Visit the house of the families who has out-of-school youth to inform them about the upcoming advocacy campaign accompanied by the barangay officials. Objective 3. For the second week, days 1 to 3, we will proceed with the discussion of the advocacy campaign both in the local school and the barangay. Objective number 4. For days 4 to 7 of the second week, we will conduct the individual consultation and counseling of the family members. Goal number 4. Action and resolve for the perpetrators and assistance to the victim. Objective number 1. Legal action for the victims who filed their complaints against their perpetrator. Objective number 2. Livelihood, legal, and psychological assistance for the victims who reported the crime they encountered and those who are still afraid to report.
The specific contents of our advocacy campaign will contain important information that includes the goals, objectives, and background of the advocacy team, statistics of recorded and unrecorded cases of domestic violence and sexual abuse within families, victim testimonies, and talk about the different impacts of domestic violence and sexual abuse in the victims, discussion of different laws and rights related in the advocacy, legal action to be taken when you are a victim of domestic violence and sexual abuse, list of assistance offered to the victims by the different public and private agencies and organizations, materials that includes understanding sex education to raise more awareness. The communication tool we are going to use to educate and raise awareness are Microsoft Word. In this advocacy campaign, a lot of paperwork are to be expected, starting from creating different permits down to the different handouts materials to be disseminated will be needed. So Microsoft Word will be one of the important tools we will need. Microsoft PowerPoint. This campaign aims to raise awareness and educate the target audiences. We will need a presentation tool that will hold all the important information. In this campaign, we will use Microsoft PowerPoint will be the presentation tool that contains the slides of information the speaker will use to raise awareness and educate the audiences. Video presentation and advertisement. With regards to the preparation of the upcoming advocacy campaign, different activities will be held to encourage individuals to participate with the campaign, to gather and support from different people. In order to gather enough support, we will be needing a strong advertisement that will speak volume to our advocacy. And to achieve this, a video presentation can be one of our powerful weapons to achieve this. Aside from gathering support from the different people, a video presentation will also be necessary when it comes to the actual campaign. Program to obtain the attention of the audience and further engage them to listen to the speaker's discussion. In creating video presentation, video editing software like Adobe Premiere or mobile version like KineMaster or Power Director will be essential. Canva. To further spread the news about our advocacy campaign, easy to access piece of paper that holds necessary details will be essential. In creating posters, flyers, infographics, invitation, and calling cards, the Canva app will be our partner. As what our advocacy campaign fights for, we stand against domestic violence and sexual abuse that are commonly happening within families, especially among those who has limited access to the information that concerns their human rights. We hope that with this advocacy campaign, we can raise awareness and provide important information to our target audiences, which is the families who live in secluded areas, especially the female partners and the children who can be a victim of domestic violence and sexual abuse. With this advocacy campaign, we aim to help the participants to better understand their rights, to encourage the victims to speak up and stand for their own rights, to offer both livelihood, psychological and legal assistance, and lastly, to make them obtain the necessary knowledge they can use as a weapon to defend themselves both inside their house and the court. The knowledge that we will use for this are all topics related in our advocacy campaign that includes related rights and laws, statistics of reported and unreported cases of domestic violence and sexual abuse, awareness on sex education to prevent and stop unconsented sexual activity, and unsafe sexual practice. We will also apply the knowledge we gather not just in our school, but also the knowledge we gather from the society, to community, our family and friends, and to our experience and exposure to these issues. Skills will be based on both communication and physical skills, such as for mass communication. We will use the strategy of nomination to collaborate and establish a topic productively. Repair, a communication strategy on how speakers address the problems that they may encounter for the topics. Teamwork, to make this advocacy campaign a success, it will need a collaborative effort of every team members. For example, volunteers and speakers who will host the event can apply teamwork to make the audience get more interested in learning, reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills will also be utilized to create the most effective campaign material we can produce. These skills are also necessary for the success of our campaign and to effectively relay important information and gather feedbacks from the audiences. Values to be applied for this campaign are creativity, courage, intelligence, sincerity, and love. Since our target audiences are kids and adults, a boring presentation will make the campaign worse to share with, and it will not catch the attention of the audiences. This campaign will also require courage as we also aim to get some testimony from the victims, encourage the audience to speak up and end their silence. The value of intelligence will also be needed to inform and educate the audience with factual data and reliable information. Lastly, sincerity and love. These two are the value that will drive us to continuously proceed and stand to what we advocate and further extend our hands and raise our voice to reach those individuals living in silence and unawareness. In order for us to effectively achieve our goals and objectives in our advocacy campaign, we would like to use our knowledge in domestic violence and sexual abuse and the topics in communication because advocacy campaign is about influencing, driving changes, and in order for us to effectively raise awareness and to provide information with regards in domestic violence and sexual abuse, we will use all the knowledge we have to raise awareness and to hone our skills to improve our communication skills with our target audience. We are also not just providing awareness to our target audience, but we are also aiming to have a consistent communication within the community.
How else do you think the project might be improved? The project can still be improved if it can cover different barangays located in rural areas, not just in a single region but all over the nation. The project can be improved if it can also cover the abused male partners. The project can be improved if it can cover the different types of abuse that the partner and the children can face and ways on how to fight and deal with it. The project can be improved if it can cover the different abuses a child can encounter, not just in the confinement of their house, but also in different settings like school and other public places. What might you suggest especially for the final project? We encourage and suggest this proposal for those individuals and organizations who share the same advocacy with us to coordinate with us or to join our team. We invite everyone to participate and help us in this advocacy and make it possible to raise this awareness, get educated, and prevent this violence for the safety of the people and children who are and can be victims of such cruelty. We encourage and invite everyone to be part of our team by being a volunteer, a speaker, a co-host, or by participating in our fundraising to support this advocacy campaign. With the combined efforts and support of everyone, we can be the voice of the people who might be living in silence. And together, let's bring light and hope to the lives of the people along the path of this advocacy campaign journey.